today in Rich in Relationship. We're going to talk about
when you're overspending on love and getting very little return. Emotional exhaustion often comes from overspending energy where it's not being reciprocated. We're giving and they're just not giving back. And the love languages will not erase old emotions and trauma, but they will help you learn what love language your partner speaks most so that you can show them that you love them in a way that they can truly receive. Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship. And today, we're going to talk about the emotional budget. Are you overspending on love that isn't paying you back? It almost seems criminal to talk about an emotional budget, right? Because emotions are supposed to be free-flowing. Love is supposed to be something we give unconditionally and generously. And at the same time, as we've been exploring in the last couple of episodes, it is fully possible and even likely that there are relationships that are unequal and unbalanced when it comes to sharing emotion. Joanna says, I feel like I'm always pouring into this relationship, encouraging him, checking in, forgiving, showing up, but I'm drained. How can I love someone so much and still feel so empty? Now, there are a lot of aspects to this. It might be that they are loving you, but it's not your primary love language. If you've got familiarity with the 5 love languages, the background idea is we all have one primary, and here are the 5: gift giving, touch, words of encouragement, quality time, and acts of service. So let's say you're an acts of service person and they're giving you gifts, but you hate gifts. You don't feel loved. You're like, why do they keep giving me this crap? Keeps buying me the same old carnations. I don't get it. When what you want is an act of service. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is that she is a total narcissist. They think only of themselves. The only time they seem like they're giving is when they're investing something to get more back. Whatever the situation, emotional exhaustion often comes from overspending energy where it's not being reciprocated. We're giving and they're just not giving back. And this is not like previous episodes. In a previous episode, we talked about a situation where one person's carrying the emotional burden and the other one is doing other stuff. This is a very different situation because relationships run on emotional currency. Like emotional currency, what is that? Appreciation, caring, communication, curiosity, reinvestment, signs of affection. These are all emotional currency. Or you go back to the 5 love languages: acts of service, words of affirmation, gift giving, touch. I'm missing one: quality time. Those are all emotional currency. And when one person is investing, and not getting anything in return that feels like love to them, the relationship bank account goes into the negative. We talk about that a lot here on Rich in Relationship, the relationship bank account. When the bank account goes into overdraft, we feel like, what are we doing here? See, love can't grow when the giving of emotion is out of balance. So in the last episode, we talked about Brad and Gwen having emotional labor out of balance. Brad, for those of you who don't know, Brad and Gwen, if you didn't tune into the last episode, Brad and Gwen are generic names for client stories, and we never share exact stories, so we might take a facet from one story and mix it with another. Confidentiality is primary here at Richer Relationship. But these are true stories because these are things that happen in real life. That's the truth of them. They're true because we've heard them in the countless clients that we've worked with. So Brad and Gwen rebalance their emotional labor. Brad is trying harder to initiate conversations. He's planning small outings. He's taking on more family tasks. Gwen appreciated it, but she still feels like something's not right emotionally. So Brad's trying, but she's not getting it. It just doesn't feel like enough. When we started working with Brad and Gwen on this, where Brad is trying so hard and Gwen just isn't getting it, what they discovered was they fixed their roles, but not their emotional economy. What does that mean? In the last episode, what happened was Gwen started helping Brad with some of his roles in terms of managing the logistics of life, vehicles, household care, etc. And Brad started taking on some of Gwen's roles that he always thought traditionally were supposed to be for the woman, but he's like, I'm in, I'll try. And he started inviting his family to come over and started managing them. But still, Gwen feels like something's not right. Brad was giving effort, but she's just not receiving whatever it is he's laying down. Because sometimes we can do things and not be coming from the right place emotionally, right? The way the world works is be, do, have. And guys in particular, but women can do this too, have a tendency to think if I just do what I'm supposed to do, that'll fix it. But sometimes we're not doing it with care and concern. Sometimes we're doing it out of anxiety. Sometimes we're doing it out of anger. If I just do what I'm supposed to, it's going to be better. And when we come from a place that is negative or destructive, even if we're doing something that looks constructive, it feels destructive to the recipient. And that's what was going on with Brad and Gwen. He was a little frustrated. He was a little upset. They were not partners in emotional wealth. You can do everything right and still not be giving emotionally in a way that your partner can receive it. So we introduced Brad and Gwen to a key tool from our emotional wealth, our emotional prosperity framework, the emotional budget. Or it's really, a budget's a terrible word, the emotional spending plan. So just like a financial spending plan tracks money in and money out, the emotional spending plan tracks what fills you up and what drains you, so you can make intentional choices instead of reactive ones. Now, I know that a lot of you don't have a financial spending plan. How do I know that? 76% of all marriages fight about money. And if you had a spending plan that was working, you wouldn't be fighting about money. And so it's no wonder that emotionally, we don't monitor what's happening. Emotionally, we don't monitor the positive emotion coming in, the negative emotion going out, and the impact on our emotional bank. So I really want you to get that when we're building a relationship, just like when we're building our bank account, there is more positive energy going in by both parties into the emotional bank than there is being taken out. And withdrawals are not taken out just by fighting. Withdrawals are not taken out just by destructive conflict. Withdrawals can happen simply by not investing. If one person is investing an emotionally positive energy and the other one isn't, in essence, the account is being drained. If one person is putting in all the money and paying other people to manage the household, and the other person is just eating bonbons, there's a serious disparity in giving. So think about this emotionally as being like that. Gwen was putting in all the energy emotionally. Brad, he was doing stuff, but he wasn't putting in. So they created a framework for giving. And the framework was, how much positive, constructive emotion are you meeting our life with? Are you meeting it? The basis for all positive interaction is caring communication. So when you talk together, I'm actually going to talk to you like you're Brad and Gwen. When you talk together, what's the tone of the conversation? Is it perfunctory? How was your day today? Good. How was yours? Fine. Oh, cool. Oh, something happened at work? That sounds bad. Or is it caring and invested? Wow. Something happened at work today? Tell me more. It sounds like what happened brought up a lot of hurt for you, the way that they talk to you. I did get that. Oh, there's more? Tell me more. And it might even slip into, I know what that feels like. I had an experience like that at work too, with with John and my boss, I felt hurt from something very similar. That's really rough. That would be empathetic listening, right? So they started to measure the quality of their conversations. They started to measure how much were they showing appreciation to one another? How much were they showing appreciation to one another? How much were they showing gratitude? And by appreciation, I don't just mean thanks for emptying the dishwasher. Though, let me tell you, I love it when somebody empties the dishwasher. But it could be something more like this. Thanks for taking care of that because it was really, I didn't have time to get to it myself and it was really wearing on me. And I so appreciate that you did that. But it's like giving background for the appreciation. Not just thank you, but what was it about that you appreciated? It relieved me of something. It took care of something that was important to me. Giving it context. They shared quality time. It didn't have to be a lot of time, but they made sure that after the kids went to bed, that they had some time together. Maybe they watched a show together, but they didn't just watch the show together. They talked about it afterwards. Did you get that? I didn't get that. Did that make sense to you? Or, wow, I love that. And here's what I loved about that. And maybe we could do something like that with our kids because that was so cool. They shared experiences and processed them together. They touched each other regularly without necessarily wanting to be physically intimate. I was going to say, without necessarily doing the deed, that's a guy's way to put it. They just touched each other. Sometimes they just held hands and hugged. And guys, by the way, just so you know, just touching like that will eventually lead to physical intimacy as long as the energy behind the touch is not, oh, I hope she's getting this because I want to be intimate next week, tomorrow, tonight. Right? If the touch is just, I really care about you, it's about the energy behind it, right? A lot of times I tell guys, well, if you want to have regular sex, you need to touch your partner without expecting regular sex. And they think, oh, I get it. Touch. But what they're thinking when they touch is, I want you, I need you, I have to have you. Are you noticing? Right? The energy behind it makes a huge difference. That's a lot different than, I'm so glad to be with you right now. I so appreciate what you did for me. You're such an amazing mom, dad, whatever. It's totally different energy. I really want you to get that the emotion behind what we do flavors everything. Then they measure the withdrawals. How many snarky remarks were made? And when the snarky remarks were made, instead of just letting them pass, they said, hey, that stung a little. Because a lot of times when we make snarky remarks, we've been doing it for so long, it's totally unconscious. Sometimes we learn that from our parents. We think it's funny. And our partner says, hey, you know what? That wasn't so funny. Defensive reactions. Your partner asks you something and you go, why do you ask? That's a withdrawal. There's distrust behind that. It's the feeling behind it. Avoidance. Hey, let's go out to dinner tomorrow. Oh, yeah, that seems like a good idea. Let me think about it. There's no enthusiasm behind that. Your focus is somewhere else. Unspoken resentment. That is the worst poison. When you're walking around with a resentment for something that happened in the past, they started talking about that stuff instead of just letting it pass. They started looking at every exchange. What's the feeling behind it? And at the end of the day, they checked out, hey, how am I feeling today? Did I show my partner how much I care today? Or do I feel like my partner showed me how much they care? And, and I'm going to tell you, for some of us, there's never enough caring. And so we got to be really careful with that. You never show me you care. What do you mean? I was just holding your hand. Oh, well, you don't usually do that, right? We can slip into old thoughts and old patterns. We got to be careful with that. But they looked at it. The thank yous, the hugs, the 5-minute talks. And when they felt like something was missed, they talked about it. And they developed an emotional spending plan, or it might be an emotional reinvestment plan. They had date night. They had times where the phones and screens went off. They had regular shared experiences, a program they might be watching together and talking about. They did chores together. They spent time with the kids together. They planned their future together. They reviewed their finances together to see if there's more money coming in than going out. Planting a seed. And if they missed it, they noticed it. And they kept building that time together, because what they found was the more they built it, the better it worked. They started taking a weekend together once a season, which seemed like a huge sacrifice when they first started doing it. And then it turned into every 6 weeks, taking an overnight together, away from the kids, away from the house. Within a month, Gwen reported, "I'm finally giving without resenting." And Brad added, "I can tell when she's full now, and I know how to help before she burns out." And they did the 5 love languages, which I highly recommend. There's a bunch of knockoff tests out there. Find the original 5 love language book. Take the original 5 love language test. I recommend it highly. The love languages will not erase old emotions and trauma, but they will help you learn what love language your partner speaks most, so that you can show them that you love them in a way that they can truly receive. And here's why it works. Being intentional and focused and having a plan for increasing your investment over time and measuring whether you're actually sticking to it, it replaces the mystery. The truth is, this is going to sound so cheesy when we're talking about feelings, but it's true for everything. What isn't measured is rarely changed. It's a business principle that's true in relationships. By measuring, are we spending more time, investing more positive emotion? Are we feeling better about each other? If we're feeling negative, how are we airing it out? Are we airing it out in a way that feels safe and responsible? Or is it showing up as blame and hostility? By measuring these things, you can actually see if your relationship is getting healthier and stronger. They worked in the world of intentionality. And when they noticed that their emotional expression was stepping outside of their intention, they either checked themselves or called each other out. Because intentionality builds safety. Perfect intentionality is almost impossible, by the way. You're going to set the intention and step out of it. That's why in a partnership, calling each other out is so important. They created boundaries that kept work separate from family time, that kept family time separate from time with each other, that kept time with each other separate from individual creative expression time even, which is vital. We all need to be developing individually and as a couple. And they balance these things out, because balance sustains growth. If you lean too much into one thing and sacrifice from the others, the end result is burnout. The fact of the matter is, so if you're listening to this and you're finding that your emotional expression doesn't feel sustainable to you, you feel like you're giving, giving, giving and not receiving, if you feel like your relationship is constantly in overdraft, I want you to get that balance doesn't mean keeping score. It means tracking what keeps your love alive. That's totally suck. Let's do that again. All right. So here's the punchline. You can't love sustainably if you're constantly overdrafting your emotional account. By the way, there's the emotional account in your relationship. There's the emotional account with yourself. Balance means balancing those things out. Balance doesn't mean keeping score. We're all really good at keeping score. Keeping score is about holding resentments. It's about, I'm going to take your inventory, but I'm not going to take mine. That's not what we're talking about here. It means tracking what keeps your love alive and noticing the things that are taking away from it so you can start to alter those behaviors. Because the behaviors that are taking away from your love, that are slowly sucking it dry, they're not worth keeping. When both partners commit to shared emotional giving, shared emotional measuring, shared emotional investment, let's call it, connection grows and it becomes consistent. And there's no crisis in the relationship. Crisis might happen on the outside, but in the relationship, you are ready for it. If you're ready to move from emotional exhaustion to emotional balance, we're encouraging you to join The Bridge, our relationship community on richinrelationship.com. Same as this podcast name, richinrelationship.com. And if you're liking what you're hearing, like this podcast, subscribe to it, share it with other people. Help us grow this motion, the movement. It's a movement. The movement is that prosperity is emotional. And out of your emotional prosperity comes material, financial prosperity. Financial prosperity without emotional prosperity is dead. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the life we planned versus the life we have, how to realign your shared vision, right? Part of once you have your emotional spending plan in order, you are now in a position to realign your vision and move forward to a better place as a couple, as a family. In the meantime, have an amazing day and a fantastic tomorrow. And thank you for listening to another episode of Rich in Relationship.